Good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday, and I hope everybody had a blessed day out on the roads. If you drive in the morning, and if you drive in the afternoons, please be careful and safe out there. Welcome to He Set Me Free. My name is Robert, and today out on the roads was not a bad day. To be quite honest, it was a lot better than I expected it to be. And after I got home, and I did my spreadsheet, I kind of noticed some things, what my average range of income would be, or hourly, or not hourly, but trip rates, and the miles that I had to drive to make that money. So my average was $5.21. There was 3 rides that I could not count because they were what you'd call anomaly rides, meaning discounted because passengers couldn't get picked up, a ride that probably everybody else declined but I accepted it, and it was not a normal amount discounted. It was a scheduled pickup. And then the first ride where Lyft basically paid more than what they actually charged the passenger. So throw those 3 out, 10 rides, $5.21 was the average, and then my average miles was 7.2 miles. So what that tells me is for the $5.21, I had to drive 7.2 miles total to make that $5.21. That's total miles, so it is what it is. Just like on track with all the other sheets that I've done thus far, Lyft takes roughly $65 from that. Now, I did notice whenever I was doing my sheet from yesterday this morning that there is one day that Lyft takes, the next day it's primarily external, and it switches back and forth. And that kind of makes sense, I guess. But it is what it is. There's not much you can do about it. My average times was in between 15 minutes to 19 minutes per ride. That's from the time that I accepted that ride to the time that I dropped that passenger off. So that's pretty standard. With the kind of miles that I drove today, and I drove 107 miles. With bonuses and tips, I made $109. So my actual average or rate that I made per mile was 86 cents, which is really good. You want that figure, all right. I did not go back into the app and put down the mileage. I forgot to do it. The mileage that they put down inside the app, how they actually charge the passenger. I forgot to do that. It would add another block. It's no big deal. I did that on yesterday's account, and I noticed something very interesting, and I might need to do that to see if there's any similarities with the numbers that I got yesterday and the numbers that I got today. But I'm done messing with that today. Now, with all that being said, I want to go back and revisit a topic that I briefly touched on yesterday, and that's AI in the Lyft app. Today, I noticed very specific things with regards to how I receive trips. Okay, and then I pretty much thought about it all night last night. I did not get much sleep at all. If Lyft can learn your driving patterns, and this goes back to yesterday, okay, as well too, and previous days. If Lyft knows that you're going to accept every single ride, okay, then they're going to take and continue to give you rides where they don't have to pay you very much, because the AI is keeping track of that. It's keeping track of your driving habits, meaning whether you take shortcuts or not, your speeds, how long it takes for you to get to the passenger and to drop them off. All right, things like that. So it's all theory because there's no way to prove it, is that's why sometimes you'll get short rides, sometimes you'll get longer rides, because they want to keep you within a period, no more than 2 rides an hour, which is basically I had 13 rides today. I drove for 6 hours, 2 rides an hour. All right, one of those rides, actually 3 of those rides were longer rides. The rides that I had to throw out, those were rides. Those were anomaly rides, meaning they don't fall in the spectrum of all the other rides that I had. All right, the 85% other rides that I had, or whatever the number is, and mileage. Okay, well, something interesting happened a couple different times. The way Lyft had me zoned today. I'd go to this one area along I-35, pick people up, and then I'd take them out of that area, and sporadically I'd pick up people in other areas. But what was interesting is for the past 2 months, a road has been closed, Primrose. And so they had it not closed, but they had it one way. All right. And to get to 2 apartment complexes and to the other side of that road, there's only 2 ways to get to that road. Actually, there's 3, but 2 primarily ways. 3 actually. Robinson Drive, 21st or 18th Street, and 12th Street. That's it. All right. From Robinson to 12th Street, it was one way. You could not come back towards Robinson Road. You had to go towards Baylor University. So for the last 2 months, there's, more specifically, the apartments on 21st Street, a large number of occupants that live there use Uber and Lyft. Today, whenever I went and picked up passengers at both the apartment complexes that are different but are side by side, Lyft kept trying to send me down 18th Street or Primrose heading east to 18th Street, then back up LaSalle. But whenever I used Primrose as a 2-way street, the app got confused. And in fact, it would freeze until I got to Robinson Road. Now that's about a mile from either apartment complex up to Robinson Road. It didn't know what to do, literally. This is why I say AI tracks your movements, all right? It literally did not know, and I made 5 trips over to that area today. I had no idea what to do because it already knew my driving patterns of having to go down Primrose one way to 18th Street and then back over to LaSalle. There was there was something else today too about shortcuts. The way that it picked it out. It kept trying to send me the long way. That's its first instinct. But because it wants to keep you in that range of mileage. All right. But whenever I would pick up people from Amazon and carry them over to the Baylor area, I always take Bagby to I-35. It cuts off about a mile, and then it corrects itself once I cross over Highway 6. But whenever I go to North Waco, it does the shortest route. And I find that very interesting because it knows that whenever I go that direction, I take shorter routes. All right. I don't know why it hasn't picked up on me going to the Baylor area from that part, from the Hewitt area. I have no idea. I guess it's trying to choose the faster route. But I'm trying to save gas. Even though the prices will not change, it's about saving gas. Now, as you think about this, think about your trips. Think about how Lyft pairs you with trips, how it zones you into an area where you will go in and pick people up in that area and then take them out of that area, or go pick up people from other parts of your city to take them back to that area. Typically, it's a very small area, okay? Whenever AI is active, that's how it works, okay? And if Lyft can't get any other drivers to pick up passengers in your city. That throws everything. It'll look like it's throwing off, and you kind of get your hopes up. Hey, I'm going to get into a new area. No, that's not the way that works. You'll always go back to your original starting point. Wherever your first drop off is of the day, that's going to be your area. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. It'll shift you around. So say, for instance, a driver takes, and like with me, I left my area for a while for a 40-minute trip. Okay, took me 23 minutes to go pick the person up. I took a shortcut, less time, but I left my area. They'll move another driver into that area until you get back. All right, that's why you can try to log off and go say drive for Uber, but the moment that you log back on with Lyft, they'll put you right back into that area. They do it. So this is how AI is working, because it's remembering your activity and what it has already decided for you that day. All right. It sounds a little far-fetched, but whenever you start looking at it, and you start looking at the trends, and you start looking at the patterns, then it all makes sense. But how Lyft sets up your day, like my first ride, I had to throw it out. Okay, it was my next 3 rides on Lyft that dictated the rest of my day of what my area would be, the total miles to pick up, the total miles to drop off, and sometimes the drop off doesn't always work out, but it's the total miles to pick up. It's typically in a ballpark area, and then your income. All right, my low was $3.48. My high was, I think it was $9. So that's a big gap there, but the majority of those rides was within the $7.12 to $3.48. Okay, that's where the $5.21 comes up. So, and that's the way that you have to look at it, because now it is now boxing you into a very specific area. And thinking back over all my days since I started doing my spreadsheets, my earnings have all pretty much been the same. If it would not have been for those 3 anomaly rides, I would have only made about $85 today, maybe a little bit less, because that would have put me at 10 rides. All right. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. That's what shot everything up, and that's what allowed me to make 86 cents per mile that I drove. Something else I want to talk about real quick is passengers. I had a ride this morning, and when passengers do this, it's something that really gets up underneath my skin. And I've talked about this before, but it happened again today. Is when passengers get inside your car and they don't say anything, and before you know it, you see a stop added. I picked up a lady at the projects over in Waco. She was just going down. She could have walked to the store. It's an 1/8 of a mile. Just as we're pulling into the parking lot, I knew it was coming. And I don't know why it bothered me so much, but the way that she did the trip, and I will explain, she added the stop. So I went to go swipe hit or at stop. She did it backwards. So I said something about it. And then she reversed. I said, well, it's too late now. I'll just have to take you, and then I'll have to finish the trip out there and get a hold of Lyft if they don't pay me accordingly. She ended up tipping. She was really nice about it. But there's a couple different things whenever it comes to passengers doing this. One, they'll make an excuse. Well, I didn't know how to do it before you came. That's a lie, because it took you less than 2 seconds to add that stop after I arrived. They do it because typically the ride will be more expensive if they add the stop prior to requesting the ride. So what they do, and it's a criminal mind that does it, is they'll add the stop after you're already in transition because they will get a cheaper rate if they're even charged at all. Most of the time, it's just a couple cents. I think I had one, it was like 86 cents the other day. It's very, very small. They know how to work the system, all right? And if they do it backwards, they're trying to get the stop for free. Now, on Uber, if a passenger does that and does it backwards, they will not be charged for that stop. If they take and they put their workplace first and their actual stop last, they won't be charged at all. It throws the algorithm off, or the AI, whatever's working the system. It completes it, or it gives them the bare minimum at all. They know how to work the system. And I've had that happen quite a few times. Or they'll say, well, can you do a stop? Okay, fine. And then immediately you get a hold of Uber or Lyft and say, this is an unscheduled stop. They were in here X amount of minutes. I need you to accurately charge this passenger for a stop, and I need to be paid for it. Nothing's for free, all right? They're already getting basement deals using the Ride app because we are clearly not paid enough for driving these people around. So always go to Lyft and have them do a ride assessment or ride adjustment and tell them the deal. And keep an eye out for the things that I talked about that passengers do. So today I talked about my spreadsheet and the trends that I noticed, AI, and how it is definitely affecting how we are paired with drivers or with passengers, how much money we're going to make, your average mileage that it figures, and in fact, whether you're going to take shortcuts or not, that's all already figured in. It already knows. It knows your driving patterns. Remember this, that price is not going to change. At this point, by taking shortcuts, picking up the passenger and dropping them off, you're trying to save gas. And that's all that matters. The quicker that you can do that, the quicker you can move on to the next ride. And in fact, that's something that Lyft does not want you to do. All right? Whenever you start getting shorter rides, Lyft is trying to slow you down. They're trying to slow your earnings down. Meaning, short rides, low pay, it eats up time and it kills your earnings. It'll drive up your rides for the day, but it slows your earnings down because those slow rides, they can take up to 15 minutes. All right? It's the way that it works. You start getting a multiple of those, then it works. Something else that AI does. If AI can get you into an area that they cannot get any other drivers in, where you started off in the morning, that should be your area, they will move you to that new area. Especially if they forecast that there's going to be a lot of rides. Now these these areas that they typically can't get drivers into, they stick you there and your earnings will suck. Why? Because typically these are poor areas. These are poor or low income areas, and or Uber's too expensive, because these are areas like North Waco where Uber has set up housing. It used to be a strong Lyft area. Now it has turned into an Uber area because Uber started throwing them discounts out there. So what they're trying to do is compete with a driver. Now oftentimes enough, AI, what they'll do is like with what they do, like I told you about earlier, they'll send you into the area, have you take that passenger to another part of the city, and then send you back to pick someone up. This is how they make their money. All right. AI is the new term for algorithm. All right, because now on top of the algorithm, the system's getting smarter. That's probably the best way to explain it. All right, it's subtle. Unless you are looking for it, you will not notice it at all. So you have to look for the signs. And I hope I have given you more than enough to get you through your day so that you can know with what you're dealing with. Because it truly helps if you can look for the trends And if you can look for the patterns, then you know what to do with, and then you won't get aggravated. All right. And it just makes your day. Don't allow these apps to steal your joy and to affect your rides. All right. I hope everybody has a blessed day. Please leave a comment. Share my videos with other drivers, with passengers too. All right. Like them, subscribe so that you get more content. And I hope everybody has a blessed day today. Until next time, y'all be safe out on those roads.